The night I found out I wasn't invited to my own stepdaughter's rehearsal dinner, I was standing in my kitchen in Portland, Oregon, holding the check I'd just written for $58,000. My name is Gerald Whitfield. I'm 61 years old. I spent 30 years as an electrician, built my own small company from nothing, and I thought I knew how to read people. Turns out I missed the most important one standing right in front of me. That check was the final payment for Lorraine's wedding at Riverside Gardens. I'd already covered the venue, the catering, the photographer, the flowers, the band. Everything she'd pointed at in those bridal magazines she started collecting 2 years ago. My late wife, Sylvia, would have given anything to see this day. So I was doing it for both of us. I called Lorraine to confirm the payment went through. "Hey, sweetheart," I said when she picked up, "just letting you know the Riverside Gardens deposit cleared. You're all set for Saturday." There was a pause, music in the background, laughter. "Oh, thanks, Gerald." Gerald, not Dad. She'd been calling me Gerald more and more lately, and I'd told myself it was just her being grown up. "What time do you want me Friday?" I asked. "For the rehearsal dinner, I can come early, help set up." Another pause. Longer this time, then a different voice came on. Philip, her husband-to-be, smooth and practiced like he'd rehearsed this exact moment. "Hey, Gerald, look. The rehearsal dinner is really just for immediate family and the wedding party. Keeping it small and meaningful, you know?" I switched the phone to my other ear. "I'm her father, Philip, that's immediate family." Right, he said, patient, like he was explaining something to someone slow. "But it's really the people in the ceremony. Lorraine's bridesmaids, my groomsmen, the parents walking her down the aisle. I'm walking her down the aisle." Silence. Then Lorraine came back on, her voice smaller now. "We decided that Aunt Carol and Philip's dad would do it together. Since Mom isn't here, it feels more balanced. Aunt Carol, Sylvia's younger sister who lived in Seattle and saw Lorraine maybe twice a year. I'd raised Lorraine since she was 9 years old. Sylvia and I got married when Lorraine was in 3rd grade, missing her 2 front teeth and obsessed with horses. I never adopted her legally, but I'd been her father in every way that counted. I went to every school play, every parent-teacher conference. I taught her to drive in the Costco parking lot on Sunday mornings. I sat with her in the hospital waiting room when she had her appendix out at 16. I was the one who held it together when Sylvia got her first cancer diagnosis, because Lorraine needed someone to hold it together. I had no biological children. After Sylvia and I got married, we talked about it once seriously, and we decided Lorraine was our family. That was enough. She was enough. Now Philip was telling me I wasn't immediate family. "You understand, right?" Lorraine said. "It's just, Philip's family is very traditional." "Sure," I said. "I understand." I hung up and stood in the kitchen for a long time. The house was quiet the way it only gets when you're the only one in it. I looked at the wedding photo of me and Sylvia on the mantle. We'd kept it simple. A small ceremony, a backyard reception, a handful of people who actually mattered. What made it real wasn't the flowers or the venue, it was the promise. I'd kept that promise for 22 years. I didn't sleep well that night. I sat in Sylvia's old reading chair and ran through the last 3 years in my head, trying to figure out exactly when things had shifted. I kept landing on the same answer: Philip. He'd come into Lorraine's life when she was 28. Good-looking guy, big ideas, easy smile. His first business, some kind of fitness app, lasted about 7 months. His second, a home renovation company, made it to 8. By the time I started writing checks, I'd already told myself it was temporary, just helping them get started. That's what fathers do. The next morning I was up before 6. I spread 3 years of bank statements across the kitchen table and actually added it all up, line by line. $15,000 for the down payment on their condo, $80,500 to clear the credit card debt after Philip's first company folded, $11,000 invested in the renovation business that never got off the ground, $4,200 in smaller amounts, here and there, groceries, a car repair, a vet bill, $5,000 to $8,000 for the wedding, total $96,700. I'd been rounding it to $97,000 in my head, which was close enough to hurt the same. Then I checked the joint emergency account I'd set up for Lorraine when she started college. It should have had around $18,000 in it. It had $3,200. 6 months of withdrawals I hadn't authorized, car repair, medical bill, surprise tax payment, all while I was writing checks for centerpieces and catering. I sat back and looked at the ceiling. Then I opened my email and found the message my accountant had flagged 2 days earlier that I hadn't gotten to yet. A loan application from a local credit union, $40,000 listed as a small business loan, with my name as co-signer. I had never agreed to co-sign anything. I looked at the signature. It looked like mine. It wasn't. I picked up the phone and called Beverly Okafor. She was a family law attorney I'd used once before when I was settling Sylvia's estate. Sharp, calm, no wasted words. She specialized in elder financial abuse, which I hadn't thought applied to me at the time. I was starting to reconsider. I told her everything. The $97,000 over 3 years, the joint account drained to $3,200, the loan application with my forged signature. She listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she didn't react the way I expected. No outrage, no reassurances, just a pause, then a question. Do you still have access to the joint account? Yes. Don't touch it. Don't close it. Don't say a word to Lorraine or Philip about the loan application. Get me copies of everything, every bank statement, every transfer, every withdrawal, and the loan document. Can you do that today? I told her I could. Good. The moment Philip knows you've seen that signature, he moves the money and destroys whatever trail he's built. Right now he thinks you haven't noticed. That's the only advantage we have, and I don't want to lose it. I spent the rest of that morning at my desk, scanning documents. Bank statements going back 3 years. The loan application, screenshots of the joint account withdrawals. Text messages from Lorraine asking for money, which I had plenty of, emails where I'd said yes. I organized everything into a folder and sent it to Beverly before noon. That afternoon, Beverly called the credit union directly and spoke with their fraud department. She didn't identify herself as my attorney right away. She asked general questions about their cosigner verification process, how signatures were authenticated, what documentation they required. By the end of the call, she had confirmed that Philip had submitted the application in person, that my signature had not been verified against any ID, and that the loan was still pending approval. She called me back with a plan. We let the application sit, she said. I've spoken with the fraud officer, and he's going to flag it internally, without rejecting it yet. Philip will think it's still processing. Meanwhile, we document every step he takes. If he calls to follow up, they log it. If he submits anything else, they copy it. We're building a case before we make a single move. I asked her how long, 2 weeks, maybe 3? Long enough to have something solid. I agreed. It wasn't easy. Every morning I woke up knowing Philip had forged my name on a $40,000 loan application and was sitting at breakfast acting like nothing had happened. But I'd spent 30 years in the electrical trade, and one thing that work teaches you is patience. You don't pull wire before the conduit is set. You don't energize a panel before the connections are right. You do it in order, or you do it wrong. So I waited. During those 2 weeks, I hired a private investigator Beverly recommended. His name was Roy, a retired insurance investigator in his 50s who worked out of a small office in Northeast Portland. He was not dramatic about it. He sat across from me, asked practical questions, and took notes in a small spiral notebook. Philip Hargrove, he said. You want financials or behavior? Both, Beverly said. She'd come with me. Roy spent 10 days on it. What he found wasn't a surprise, but seeing it in writing made it real in a different way. Philip had approached at least 2 other people for money in the past year. A college friend of Lorraine's who had loaned him $6,000 for the renovation business and never been repaid. And Sylvia's older brother, Lorraine's uncle on her mother's side, who had quietly given them $300–500 after Philip told him Gerald had already agreed to match it. Gerald had never been asked. He was running the same play on multiple people at the same time. Beverly filed the documents with the district attorney's office on a Thursday morning. Forgery, attempted wire fraud. The DA's office opened a preliminary investigation the same week. The following Monday, I called Lorraine, not to tell her what I knew. I wanted to hear where she was. Part of me still believed she didn't know about the loan application, that she was Philip's front, not his partner. I needed to know how deep in she was before any of this became public. She answered on the first ring, which surprised me. What didn't surprise me was what she said inside of 2 minutes. Gerald, Philip, and I have been talking. We think it might be better if you didn't come to the wedding. I kept my voice level. Why is that? It's just going to be awkward. You've been distant lately, and we don't want that energy there. Distant. I'd been distant because I was quietly building a federal fraud case against her husband. But I didn't say that. Who decided this? I asked. We both did. Did Philip suggest it first? A pause. That's not fair. Lorraine, I said, I paid $58,000 for that wedding. I've given you and Philip close to $100,000 in 3 years, and now I'm being asked not to come. You think money buys you access to our lives? That landed differently than she probably meant it to. Because no, I didn't think money bought anything. I'd never thought of it that way. I'd given that money because she was my daughter in every sense that mattered. Because Sylvia was gone and this was the only family I had left. Because I had no one else to give it to. That was the part that hit hardest. Not the $58,000, not the forged signature. The fact that I had built my entire picture of family around one person, and that person had let Philip tell her I didn't belong at her wedding. "I'll let you know about the wedding," I said, and I hung up. I didn't go. That Saturday, I spent the morning fixing a breaker panel for a client out in Beaverton. Old house, original wiring from the 1960s, the kind of job that takes full concentration because one wrong move and you're dealing with something serious. I was grateful for that, grateful for work that required all of me and left no room for anything else. When I got home that afternoon, there was a voicemail from Lorraine. She said the ceremony was beautiful. She said she wished I'd been there. She said Philip's family had been wonderful and that she felt surrounded by love. She did not mention the $58,000. She did not mention Aunt Carol walking her down the aisle in my place. She did not mention that I was the only father she had ever known. I deleted the message and made myself a sandwich. 4 days later, a man in a suit knocked on my front door and handed me an envelope. I knew what it was before I opened it. Beverly had warned me this was possible. Lorraine and Philip were suing me for $25,000, breach of oral contract, promissory estoppel. The complaint stated that I had made specific verbal promises to fund their honeymoon, that they had booked flights and hotels in reliance on those promises, and that my withdrawal of support had caused financial harm and emotional distress. I read it twice, then I called Beverly. She answered on the first ring. "You've been served. How did you know?" "Because it's exactly what I expected them to do. They know the fraud investigation is moving. This lawsuit is a pressure tactic. They're betting you'll settle to avoid the embarrassment of a public court case." "I'm not settling, I know. Come in tomorrow morning and we'll file the response." Beverly's counter was methodical. We denied every claim. Then we filed a counterclaim for harassment and abuse of process. And we attached the full financial record, every dollar I had given them over 3 years, organized by date, amount, and purpose, with bank statements to back every line. $15,000 condo down payment March 3 years ago, $8,500 credit card payoff. November same year, $11,000 renovation business investment the following spring, $4,200 smaller amounts across 18 months, groceries, car repair, a vet bill for their dog, $58,000 wedding costs paid in full, total $96,700. Beverly put that number in bold at the top of the first exhibit page. She also submitted Roy's investigative report as a separate filing. Philip approaching Lorraine's college friend for $6,000 and never repaying it. Philip telling Sylvia's brother that I had already agreed to match his $3,500 contribution, which was a lie. 2 separate instances of Philip misrepresenting facts to extract money from people who trusted him. And then the main event, the forged co-singer signature on the $40,000 credit union loan application. The DA's office had already opened a preliminary investigation by the time we walked into civil court. The criminal case was separate, moving on its own track. But Beverly made sure Judge Carolyn Bassett knew it existed. The courtroom was small. Fluorescent lights, worn carpet, the kind of room that reminded you this wasn't a movie. Lorraine sat with her attorney on one side, a young guy who talked fast and used the word capricious twice in his opening. I sat with Beverly on the other side. Lorraine's attorney went first. He presented the text messages where I'd written things like, "Don't worry about it, and I want this day to be perfect for you." He framed each one as a binding financial commitment. He talked about the honeymoon bookings, the non-refundable deposits, the emotional toll of my sudden withdrawal of support. He used the phrase vulnerable newlyweds without any visible embarrassment. Then Lorraine testified. She wore a pale gray dress and kept her hands folded in her lap. She talked about growing up without her biological father, about how I had been her rock after Sylvia died, about how she had planned her future around my promises. She cried once briefly and dabbed at her eye with a folded tissue. She looked at me once during her testimony, just once. Then she looked away and didn't look back. When Beverly stood up, she didn't raise her voice. She didn't perform. She walked Judge Bassett through the binder page by page. Every transfer, every withdrawal from the joint account that Lorraine had made without asking, every request for money documented in text messages going back 3 years. She read the total out loud, $96,700, given freely, with no written agreement, no repayment schedule, and no conditions attached. This is not a man who failed his daughter. This is a man who was steadily drained, and when he finally said enough, they sued him. Then I testified. I told Judge Bassett about the rehearsal dinner call, about being replaced by Aunt Carol, about the joint account withdrawals I had never authorized, about the voicemail Lorraine left after the wedding, the one where she talked about feeling surrounded by love and didn't mention me once, about the loan application with my forged name on it, about Philip telling Lorraine's uncle that I had already agreed to match his contribution, which I had never been asked about. I said, "Your Honor, I raised Lorraine from the time she was 9 years old. I have no biological children. She was my whole family after my wife passed. I did not give that money to control anyone or to buy my place in her life. I gave it because I loved her and I thought that's what you do for the people you love. The moment I stopped, she filed a lawsuit against me. I don't think that's a coincidence. The courtroom was quiet when I sat down. Judge Carolyn Bassett removed her reading glasses and looked at Lorraine's attorney for a long moment before she spoke. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," she said. "Your clients received $58,000 for a wedding, $15,000 for a condominium down payment, and tens of thousands more in additional transfers over 3 years, totaling just under $97,000. And they are now suing this man for an additional $25,000 because he declined to fund their honeymoon." Lorraine's attorney started to respond. Judge Bassett raised one hand and he stopped. Verbal expressions of support between a parent and adult child are not enforceable contracts. They are not promissory notes. They are not legally binding commitments. And even if they were, the defendant has already provided financial assistance that far exceeds any reasonable interpretation of a promise. She looked down at the binder Beverly had submitted. "This court finds no basis for the plaintiff's claim. Motion denied." She set the binder down and looked at both tables. "I am ordering the plaintiffs to pay the defendant's legal fees in full. Additionally, I am troubled by the pattern documented in these proceedings, specifically the evidence of forged signatures and misrepresentation to third parties. I'm referring the matter involving Philip Hargrove to the district attorney's office for formal review." Philip shifted in his seat. His attorney put a hand on his arm. The gavel came down. In the hallway afterward, Beverly shook my hand. "You did everything right," she said. "We did," I told her. Through the courtroom doors, I could see Lorraine and her attorney in a tight, quiet exchange. Philip was on his phone, jaw set, not looking at anyone. I watched for a moment, then I walked outside. I bought a coffee from a cart near the park across the street and sat on a bench for a while, not thinking about anything in particular, just breathing. The air smelled like rain that hadn't arrived yet. Normal people walked past with dogs and strollers and grocery bags. Nobody knew that a small war had just ended in that building behind me. I sat there until the coffee was gone. Then I went home. Philip was formally charged with forgery and attempted wire fraud 6 weeks after the civil ruling. He and Lorraine separated 2 months after that. I heard about it from Aunt Carol, who called me one afternoon out of the blue. She didn't say much, just that Lorraine was okay, that she'd moved in with a friend, that she had a full-time job now. I said I was glad. We left it there. I kept the house. Some people said I should sell it, start fresh somewhere smaller, somewhere without all the history. But the history was the point. Sylvia and I had planted the apple tree in the backyard the first spring we were married. The kitchen still had the tile we'd picked out together from a salvage yard in 1998. Lorraine had measured her height in pencil on the door frame of the back hallway every birthday from age 9 to age 17. I wasn't ready to paint over that. I converted the spare bedroom into a proper office for the business. Got a real filing system. A second monitor, started taking on larger commercial contracts I'd been putting off for years. I joined a woodworking group at the community center on Thursday evenings. 8 or 9 guys around my age, most of them retired, all of them happy to spend 2 hours making something with their hands without talking about anything heavy. I started walking in the morning, sometimes with Wanda, my neighbor 3 doors down who'd been quietly checking in on me more than I deserved. It wasn't a dramatic new life. It was just my life with more room in it. About 6 months after the courtroom, a letter arrived, handwritten envelope. I recognized Lorraine's writing before I even looked at the return address, the same looping cursive she'd used on birthday cards since she was a kid. I almost didn't open it, but I did. "Gerald, I'm not writing this to ask for anything or to get back into your life. My therapist told me I needed to stop rehearsing this conversation in my head and just send it. So here it is. I know what Philip did, not just to you, but to other people. I know about the loan application. I know about Lorraine's college friend and about Uncle Ray. I told myself for a long time that I didn't know, but the truth is, I didn't want to know. Philip was good at making it easy not to look too closely. I let him do that. That's on me. I don't expect forgiveness. I'm not sure I'd forgive me either, but I needed you to know that I remember who you actually are. You were at every school play. You taught me to parallel park in the Costco lot on Sunday mornings. You sat with me in that hospital waiting room the night Mom got her diagnosis, and you didn't cry until you thought I was asleep. I know what I had. I'm sorry I treated it like it was nothing. Lorraine, I read it twice. Then I folded it and put it in the top drawer of my desk, next to a photograph I'd found during the court proceedings. Lorraine, at 12 years old, gap-toothed grin, holding up a fish she'd caught at the lake the summer before she started middle school. On the back, in red marker, in her handwriting, to the dad I chose. I didn't throw that photo away. I never considered it. I didn't write back to Lorraine. Not yet. Maybe someday, or maybe the silence is its own answer, and she's smart enough now to hear it. That evening, I stood on the back porch and looked at the fence along the east side of the yard. 2 posts were rotting at the base. I'd been meaning to replace them for over a year. I went to the garage, found my post digger and a level, and got to work before the light was gone. My name is Gerald Whitfield. I'm 61 years old. I built something from nothing. I loved someone else's child like she was my own, and when it all came apart, I didn't come apart with it. That's enough. That's more than enough. If you've ever written a check for someone you loved without a contract, without conditions, just because you wanted them to have a good life and then watched them treat that as an entitlement instead of a gift, you already understand everything Gerald went through. Most men in their 50s and 60s have been there in some form. You gave because that's who you are, but giving without limits isn't love. It's a slow surrender. The moment Gerald stopped saying yes was the moment he started getting himself back. If any part of this story felt familiar, think about where your own lines are. And if you haven't drawn them yet, today's a decent day to start.